Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us and welcome from all over the world to our November event for Healthy and Uplifted. This is Let's Discuss School Bullying. So we will get started. Next slide. So we want to start off with a quick statement of use around our photography and videography. As you probably can tell, we are recording this event. So by staying and attending, you grant permission for Healthy and Uplifted to use your name, your image, and or voice in any of our electronic, our print, and our multimedia publications. This includes but does not limit to internal or external publications or media sources via newspaper, online web support, television coverage, all of those things. So if this is an agreement by which you will not make any monetary or other claims against Healthy and Uplifted relating to the use of your name, image, and or voice. Please notify one of the staff members today if you do not want to be photographed or filmed. We have to get that out of the way. And with that, we also want to share one other disclaimer. So please note that today's information is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please continue to see your healthcare providers as necessary. This information today is meant to be for educational and informational purposes. Any knowledge obtained cannot be a substitute for any professional medical advice, and never disregard the advice that your professional's healthcare team is giving you. Next slide. And then finally, last disclaimer for today, please note that Healthy and Uplifted does not recommend or endorse any of the specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned today on this platform. Healthy and Uplifted does not endorse any of the products, services, or treatments. We are here to allow you to rely on your own self-assessment that you may make, and it is solely at your own risk. And please note that all views, languages, and opinions expressed today do not necessarily reflect the Healthy and Uplifted platform. And with that, all of the housekeeping out of the way, it is my pleasure to introduce our fabulous host for today. Next slide. So we have Dr. Azumah, MD, MPH, FACOG, ACC. She is a women's health advocate and physician and consultant, a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist, a public health professional, and community educator. She is the founder of Healthy and Uplifted, our fabulous platform today, and the co-founder and president of Love Your Menses Incorporated. She is also a doula, a certified life coach, a organizational consultant, a blogger, professional speaker, an author. She does it all. She is my OBGYN hero, and I'm excited to welcome her to the stage. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Brianna, for being here today. I am so grateful to be here with you all. Brianna is our second-year medical student, but she always makes it a point to be here every month to provide this educational material. So I'm so grateful. Towards the end, you're going to meet all of our production team. So I want to welcome you guys again to another Healthy and Uplifted webinar. This is our final webinar for 2021. But guess what? We've been doing this since January 2021 and prior to that. You can find previous webinars, a summary of them at least, on our YouTube channel. So you should check out Healthy and Uplifted YouTube channel. I'm excited and grateful to present to you our panelists for this important discussion. We're talking about school bullying prevention. Again, it's school bullying prevention. You guys might ask, why this topic? First of all, we're community health educators. So anything that affects the community, the population, we get concerned. But this is personal. My daughter just started kindergarten this school year. Prior to that, she was homeschooled. And when she went to school, a few days or a few weeks later, she comes home sad and was different. And I was like, what's going on? We pray in my house. We pray in the morning and at night. And I love to do that. Family that prays together stays together. So after we prayed, my daughter talked about someone bullying her in class. And I was shocked. My daughter is 5 years old. I didn't understand, like, why is a 5-year-old being bullied? And what we decided to do was talk to the school The school were receptive. They were able to talk to the other students, and they tried to find the resolution. But that made me realize that school bullying was a thing. You know what? I knew it was a thing, right? I wrote a book, right? It's called Jonathan and the Hole in His Shoes. He just talks about the importance of allies in terms of fighting or preventing or de-escalating bullying. So I know it's important, but when it affects you personally, like my daughter, I was so sad. I was angry. But luckily, I have a team of experts with me, right? I have amazing friends. I've been fortunate enough to just meet amazing people along my journey. I have Dr. Mena, who is an adult and child psychiatrist. I have Kadiatu, who is an educator. I have Dr. Effiong, who is a board certified pediatrician. I have Domonique as well. So like I have those resources. So my point was, maybe other people don't have that resources as I do, right? Not everyone is blessed to have this handful of aspect that they can talk to, that can help calm them down, that can help provide a solution. So we decided to put up this show. So this is a very, very important topic. In 2019, prior to the COVID, it showed that 20% of students in school from age 12 to 18 are bullied, 20%. This was before the pandemic. So 20%, that's pretty high, right? 1 in 5, that's pretty high. The pandemic didn't make it better. The pandemic did not make it better because cyberbullying also went up. So we're going to be having a conversation today about what to do, the effect of this bullying, and then we'll go from there. So yes, slides up, please. All right, so I just like to give you an overview of what's going on. We've done the housekeeping rules. The next thing we're going to do will be the welcome remark, which I'm doing right now. And then we're going to do a moment of reflection, because I want you guys not to just hear this, but to think about it, right? Reflection is very important. Again, I'm a certified life coach, so reflection is very, very key. And then we're just going to introduce you to the speakers. The master keynote speaker will do a didactic. That's what we call it in science. Didactic just means presentation. And then we'll open it up to Q&A. So those of you at home watching right now, please type your question and we'll be able to answer them. All right, the next slide, please. All right, so some reflection. Has your child been bullied? I told you my daughter has been bullied, but thank God the school was very good at it and it's resolved. The girl is actually my child's friend. So yeah, has your child been bullied? Next. Have you ever been bullied? I mean, I had a friend of mine, he still had low self-esteem. And when I asked him, I was like, why do you have this low self-esteem? You're handsome, you're everything. And he said, I was bullied as a kid. Even though he's successful now, he still has those residual. We're going to be speaking to Dr. Mena today, and she will tell us the long-term effect of bullying. Next. Again, are you still living in anger from being a victim of bullying? This is, to me, quite serious. Next, please. All right. So again, this is a triggering conversation for some. So we have resources, okay? There's Stomp Out Bullying Help Chat, great resources. There are people on staff that will help you if you need someone to support you. If you're suicidal, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and someone will be available. And then most of the resources that we got, like 20%, you can get it in stopbullying.gov. The government, the public health experts know that this is an issue and they're dealing with it. Next, please. All right, so Dr. Nina, Joy Mena, I have alluded to her multiple times. She was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. And for those of you that don't know it, I went to medical school in Detroit. Detroit is home to me. Dr. Mena currently works for Morehouse School of Medicine as an assistant clinical professor of psychiatry. She also works at CHRIS 180, a community mental health agency, in addition to Morehouse Healthcare Student Health and Wellness Center. She's very passionate about community mental health, serving the underserved, and global health. Thank you so much, Dr. Mena, for being here. We appreciate you. Next, please. All right, we have Miss Kadiatu Tholley. She was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa. She relocated to the United States as a refugee in 2001. She's just amazing. She obtained her bachelor's degree in sociology from Westchester University. She also went further to get a master's degree in special education. She's currently an elementary school teacher in Utica. She loves working with kids with disabilities and has done that and has worked with kids in middle and high school. Our next facilitator is Miss Domonique Walker. Again, she's so special because my amazing intern Israel, that's her sister. Miss Domonique Walker grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and has taught in Newark, New Jersey for over 10 years. She's currently a vocal music teacher in the Newark Public School District. She received her Bachelor of Arts degree and a concentration in vocal studies at Montclair State University. She conducts a choir that has performed for many dignitaries. This includes, but not limited to, the senator and the mayor of New Jersey, the president and vice president of the New Jersey Performing Arts Center, and many more. Oh my goodness, amazing. Our next speaker and keynote speaker is Dr. Effiong. She's a board certified pediatrician. She's a certified health coach with a focus on nutrition and a mother of 3 lovely children. She's passionate about inspiring and equipping parents with strategies to heal from adverse childhood events. Bullying can be considered an advanced childhood event, but Dr. Effiong would touch more on it. She wants children to develop a love for their brain and realize their holistic worth. Her work transforms the lives of parents and their children. She advocates for children in foster care. She's the founder of Kids of Hope, a nonprofit organization. Her organization shares love, hope, and dignity by providing children going into foster care with bags filled with comfort and essential items. So I'm going to now welcome everybody and hand over the presentation to Dr. Effiong. Dr. Effiong, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Azumah. And it's been wonderful to meet all of you lovely ladies who are also on the panel. Thank you. So let's talk about bullying today. Next slide, please. Similar questions to what Dr. Azumah already asked in the moment of reflection. How many adults here today were bullied as children? How many adults here were bullies as children? And how many adults here witnessed bullying as children or knew of someone that was bullied as a child? So why are we asking these questions? Because, and if you notice, it's all about adults, right? Because it starts, we have the responsibility as adults to take care of the children in our lives. So, and if we don't deal with what's going on with us, we can't really help our kids. And so that's, as a pediatrician, I know I treat the children, but I mostly focus on the adults, because if we can get the adults to deal with or get help for any issues they've had, then they're more likely to be able to help their children. And so next slide, please. So what is bullying? Definition is ongoing and deliberate misuse of power in relationships through repeated verbal, physical, and social behavior that intends to cause physical, social, and/or psychological harm. It can involve an individual or a group of people misusing their power or perceived power over one or more people who feel unable to stop it from happening. Wow. So there are 2 key elements that we can take out of that definition. And one of them is there's an imbalance of power between the person who is doing the bullying and the person who is being bullied. Because, and then the other important thing to note is it's repeated harmful acts. And from all the literature and all the research that's been done, it shows that a lot of times the person who is bullying actually enjoys creating or harming the people, or harming the children, or harming whoever it is, because bullying is so perverse now. It can be anybody. It can be adults bullying adults, adults bullying kids, kids bullying kids, and the list goes on and on. So it's just repeated harmful acts, because the person who is bullying feels like they have power over the other person that they're committing the act against. And so that's how you differentiate what bullying is from other forms of abuse. Next slide, please. So types of bullying. Physical is one of, it's not one, it can be considered one of the worst kinds because it leaves a mark on the physical mark on the person. But physical bullying is on the rise, as Dr. Azumah alluded to, in schools, at homes. The pandemic has only exposed more of what's going on at home, because when there was the shutdown, I can say in my practice and in our state, there was, when the shutdown happened, right? We had all less numbers of children, for example, going into foster care. But once children got back to school, like it just skyrocketed, because now we could see all that had been happening at home that we weren't privy to previously. And verbal abuse, this one is critical, because people often say, oh, they didn't hit you, oh, they didn't do anything to you, so it's nothing. But I'm sure Dr. Mena can attest to this, that verbal abuse can be worse than physical abuse, because we're talking about the heart and the brain, and the words that are spoken to somebody can affect the way the person's mind functions. And like Dr. Azumah said, bullying is definitely considered an adverse childhood event. So we parents, when I'm not calling parents bullies, but we have to be extremely careful with the words we speak over our children and to our children, and even children that we come in contact with, because those words can stay with you. I'll give you a personal example. I had this aunt, I was about, I think, 8 years old. She told me I was ugly. And do you know, for the longest time, I believed her and I thought I was ugly. And then I became extremely shy, and I was like, okay, I'm ugly, so therefore I shouldn't talk to anybody. And I developed this extremely shy personality. I couldn't look people in the face and talk to them. And it took years of work for me to undo just that sentence she said to me when I was a kid. So that's how damaging verbal abuse or verbal bullying can be. And social bullying is, maybe there's a group of kids and you try to ostracize, or one child is being pushed away and saying, oh, you don't fit in, you don't belong. And it can really hurt, because children have different stages of life, especially when they're teenagers, when they look more to their peer group than even their parents. And so when they're pushed out of a peer group situation, that really, really can make children depressed, want to hurt themselves, and the list goes on and on. And as we'll go on in the presentation, you'll see it can even affect schoolwork, and that's not helpful to anyone at all. So, and another one is cyber, which Dr. Azumah alluded to, is also on the rise. With everything is online now. Let me see, I saw a 13-year-old girl who the other day was threatening to commit suicide. And so when I was talking to her and her parents and asking, okay, what led up to her threatening to commit suicide? Well, Dad said, well, we found text messages she and a group of her friends had been sending to a young boy in their neighborhood, like violent messages telling him to kill himself. And you see, and so then when her parents saw that, they took away her phone, and then she said she wants to kill herself. So you see, I'm giving that example because it's something I've seen, and I'm seeing more and more and more and more. Every week, it's like there's a child coming in that's saying they were hurt online and they don't want to live anymore. Because that goes back to verbal, because it's not just, okay, so it's happening online, but those words pierce the heart, and they can create all sorts of bad implications for going down the line. And so intimidation is also a form of bullying, when you feel like you have more power over somebody else and you threaten them and you try to make them do what it is you want them to do. Isolation or rumor spreading, that can also be part of cyber bullying, because, or even at school. And as we know, we're talking about school bullying. It happens a lot. There's groups of kids who gang up and spread rumors about another child, and the other child hears the rumors and then doesn't want to go to school anymore. So that is definitely bullying. And sexual harassment is unwanted touches that occur at school, even more than we want to talk about. But it is occurring, and that's why I'm so glad Dr. Azumah put this talk together, because we need parents to be aware that this is happening more than you want to believe it is. And so it's so important for us to address it. And theft, which is taking something that doesn't belong to you, um, that's a form of bullying, because sometimes a bully can take away their new item, and they feel like they don't have the power to address that, or get their items back. So that's definitely a form of bullying. Next slide, please. So, like I said on the previous slide, non-physical bullying can actually be more intimidating than physical. And there are differences between boys and girls. Boys oftentimes can be more physically aggressive and can be intimidating and unwelcome touch. Perform unwelcome touches to females. But girls, like I said in my example with the 13-year-old, can often when they bully, it's often emotional violence, like texting or rumor spreading or alienation or verbal abuse. And that's not to say boys don't do that as well, but lots of research has shown that that these are some differences you can see between boys and girls. And I see a comment here saying, I struggled with my self-image and self-concept for a while, and struggled with forgiveness as it pertains to my family bullying. Yes, I hear you, and that's really difficult to handle, especially when it's coming from your family. But there is help, and I hope that you seek the help that you need, because there's definitely help to go from where you are to living a healthier life. And so, next slide. Bullying myth. My child would report bullying. We hope and we wish as parents that they would, but the truth is most often children do not report bullying because they feel ashamed. They feel like they'll be retaliated against at school when you've dropped them off and you left. They don't feel like anything will change, and there's no confidence for change. They fear that they will not be believed. So the reason I put this slide in there is because it's to highlight the importance that we have as parents. I'm going to keep talking to the parents through this because I'm a pediatrician and that's what I do. When I see patients, it's so important for us as parents to create a supportive environment for our children, so that they feel safe. They can come talk to you, or they can come talk to other safe adults in their lives, so that they don't feel ashamed and they know that it's not their fault, and that they can get freedom in talking about it, and we don't put them down because they've come to us and said something. You don't know how many kids I see in my office saying, well, my parents didn't believe me, and they feel even worse. And then here comes I don't want to live anymore. I'm not saying that every time it goes to that level, but it's with suicide rates on the rise, it starts with the family. We can do a much better job, and I'm talking to myself too, of listening to our children and creating that comfortable place so that they feel free to talk to us. Next slide, please. So signs of bullying victims: they seem afraid to go to school. They come home from school with that's supposed to be torn, dirty clothing. They report things as being stolen or lost. Like, oh yeah, it just disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. They have cuts or bruises or scratches. Sleep disturbances. Like they don't want to, if you have a child who used to be able to fall asleep and now they find it difficult to fall asleep, or they come to your room late at night saying they can't sleep and it's becoming a pattern, pay attention to it. They lose interest in schoolwork. If you had a child who was doing well in school and now is not, pay attention to it for sure, because there are all these subtle signs that I know we're busy as parents, but if we don't pay attention to them, we'll just miss the entire thing. They have few friends or have lost friends. They have somatic complaints like, oh, my belly aches, I don't want to go to school. Oh, my throat hurts. And then you take them in, they get checked and there's nothing going on. I just don't feel good. I feel tired. When they sleep a lot and you can't explain the tiredness, just things like that. Talks about running away. That's definitely, if your child gets to the point where they're saying that, then you definitely need to address that. The slides. Let me see. I can pull mine up. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Low self-esteem and depression, and higher substance abuse risk. So, yes, this is definitely on the rise. And the low self-esteem and depression, Dr. Azumah alluded to that. I told you about my story. I had that for so long, where I felt like I wasn't good enough just because somebody said something to me. And I didn't tell my parents, of course, but it showed up in the way I acted and behaved. So when we see that in our children, is reinforcing them. And in my recent TEDx talk, is not out yet, but coming soon. But I talked about how it's so important for parents to be specific in what's in the way they respond to their children. So if you see your child do something good, don't just say great job. Actually, you should toss that line out of your vocabulary. Say, I like the way you treated your younger sister. I like the way you played so nicely with your friend. Because when kids hear specific feedback about an action they've done, they are more likely to repeat it than if you say great job. It's so generic, it doesn't really register with them. And higher substance abuse risk, this is so rampant with marijuana and everything else being so readily available, and so much research. It affects the function of your brain. And of course, we need our kids to have optimal brain function. So definitely want to check, be on the watch out for this. Next slide, please. So what can parents do to advocate for their kids? Research shows that higher parental support is associated with improved outcomes, like I've been talking about this whole time. And I want you to talk. See, I did that 3 times with your child because it's so important. I want you to ask direct questions. So when your friends get angry with you, what do they do to you at school? Have you seen anybody being hurt or picked on at school? Or even subtle questions like, so tell me, have you ever noticed when, just tell me what happens in your class. Let's talk about it. And you'll be surprised when you actually put that phone down and listen to your children, what they will tell you. So it's so important to talk to our kids and talk with the teachers and staff. Ask them how your child has been doing in school, how your child interacts with other kids, how other kids interact with your children, because you won't know until you talk. Don't wait for parent-teacher association meetings. Create a relationship with your teachers, with your child's teachers, so that we don't wait till things get so bad before they feel like they can reach out to you. Like, to reach out to them, send an email, say hello, say thank you for taking care of my children. And it's a relationship. So if you look at teachers that way, then it changes the way you relate to them, and they're more likely to come tell you if they see something wrong early, hopefully, without waiting for it to get too late. Because we have to understand that teachers are so overworked. I mean, they have high numbers of kids in their classes, and they may not always be on the lookout, or they may miss things. But if you have a relationship with your child's teacher, just because they're your child's teacher, then they're more likely to pay attention to what's going on with your child. And it's to create a safe environment for your child to be able to talk to you at home. Like I've been saying, that's so critical. That's what will help your child feel like they can come talk to you about what's going on, and that something will possibly change. Next slide. So what can kids do? Kids can tell an adult. So teach your children at home to to be able to come to a safe adult. Help them identify who are safe adults that they can talk to. Hide their feelings. That means if a bully is addressing them, like teach them not to like start crying right there, because then it eggs the bully on, and then they feel like, oh, they really have power over your child, and then they just keep going. I teach the kids when I see them at work, I tell them, if somebody says something wrong to you, tell them so. And I read that in a book, I think it was by Bill Cosby, I can't remember. But they've come back to tell me that when they just say so, that the bullies get angry and then they walk off and leave them alone, because says, I don't really care what you're talking about. And what you're saying is really not that important. That's what those 2 letters, that's what it means. That's what it says to the bully. And that's what I teach the children I help. And so avoid the bully. I mean, you don't have to, if you know the bully is going to be sitting there, it's not weakness. I mean, just go the other way, really, and act confident. And that goes back to what we do at home, because everything we do starts with our children, starts at home. Teaching our children and letting them know that they are valuable, that they are seen, that they are heard. It has to start at home. They're not going to develop it from school. well, yes, sometimes we have amazing teachers, but it still goes back to the home and us doing that our work as parents and teaching our children to respond neutrally, like the saying so, and not and helping them to just build them up when they come and they tell you these things. So next slide, please. So what if your child is the one bullying others? It's important that as parents, we make clear that we take bullying seriously and we will not tolerate it in our home. Because I'm pretty sure if a child is bullying kids at school, they're probably doing something at home. And maybe we're just overlooking it or we don't recognize it for what it is. But making sure that the values that we have at home reflect that you will not tolerate the bullying, and creating non-physical consequences for violations that they may make at home, rewards for positive behaviors. This is something I'm still working on because I recognize that I find sometimes I have a 13-year-old and I find that sometimes I'm harping more on what she's not doing right than what she does right. So I've made it a point to make sure that I am recognizing specifically what she does well. And I found that when I do that, she does better. And she wants to repeat those actions. And it is possible. It's just a matter of us paying attention to what we are saying ourselves as adults and as parents, and recognizing that these children, they're like sponges and they just want to hear good from us. So instead of us always, yes, have consequences for when they do the wrong thing, but definitely boost them when they do right. It's not it's not praise, it's specific, like highlighting the specific thing that they did well. That's how you do it. It's not, oh, you're just the best all the time. No, it's, I like the way you did this. I like that you took your time and you did that well. And there's a difference with that. And also collaborating with the teachers, the school counselors, and the principals to send clear messages that the behavior of your child will not be tolerated. Important, seek professional help early. Seeing a therapist does not mean there shouldn't be any shame around it. I see one every week and I told her she can't fire me because I have things I'm dealing with. And so there's no shame around it. It's so important for us to seek professional help. And I'm sure Dr. Mena will talk about this. But yes, please, get your child into counseling so that they can figure out. It's so important early. Go back to that 13-year-old I saw who was threatening suicide. She had no sign of remorse, like not even one bit, for what she had done to this child. She just had this blank look on her face. And so it's important to get professional help for your child early, because you don't want them to grow up thinking this is what they are going to keep doing, because that will be sad. So next slide. So Maya Angelou says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And so this is so important. It's for all of us. It's for me, that we treat each other the way we would like to be treated, and remember that. So thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that lecture. There was just so much of meat in it. You know, there's just so much angles to go about. Again, I just wanted to touch base before we open it up for discussion. Again, any comment that I said here is not necessarily endorsed by Healthy and Uplifted. Again, this is a free educational webinar. So I just want you guys to be mindful of that. So we're going to open up the discussion. Dr. Effiong said something really important. She talks about getting professional help when we need it. And the question is, when should we get professional help? I heard this from a reliable resource that there was the girl in the district, DMV, we call it DC, Maryland, and Virginia. There was a guy that was bullying her. I think they're in middle school, bullying her so much, like bullying her, that she was so angry. One day she took a knife and stabbed him to death. And she was not remorseful. She was like, I was defending myself. So they had to get a social worker to work on her to develop remorse, right? Because if you go to court and you're like, I did it, that would not generate sympathy. So I'm going to pull Dr. Mena here and say, Dr. Mena, were there warning signs for the parents of the girl, or for parents to know that, wow, my kid is going to flip or tilt over the table and hurt someone else. Thank you.
Yes, there's usually our. Can you hear me now? Just making sure.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I'm getting some feedback on my end. So there usually are warning signs, and Dr. Effiong did kind of touch on those as well. So usually you might see that they're missing personal items and things like that, you know, that there might be something going on if they're taking something from them, or changes in their sleep pattern, changes in their avoidance of school, no longer wanting to go to school, feeling more anxious, not doing well academically, being disruptive in school themselves, or being irritable at home, getting into fights and things like that. So those are warning signs that they're being bullied. And if your question is, what are the warning signs that they may try to get a weapon and try to go after the bully, it's still along those lines, you know, where things are starting to get worse and they're skipping school. Signs of depression, stomach aches. We call those somatic complaints, you know, where they might continue to complain about headaches, having issues with appetite, talking about wanting to hurt others. It can, in other words, it can be a variation of things depending on the person. Even if it's not those things, you might see that they're withdrawn, right? So they're not talking. There's a change of behavior. So they may not be acting out, but they're more quiet. So just a lot of things. But as a parent, you're the expert of your own child as far as their personality. So if you see a hint of change, you know, it's something going on, you want to ask what's going on, how's school, is this happening to you, or directly ask them, are you being bullied? I know I do that with my 10-year-old. So yeah, I think I answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Mena. So, Dr. Mena, like I said earlier, I did not know that my daughter was being bullied. Granted, I did not ask a question, right? I didn't ask her because I thought it was young at 5 to be bullied. But it was during our prayer that she told me. So, I mean, it's really, really difficult. So, Kadiatu, join us and tell us how you identify students that are being bullied, because the teacher did not know that my daughter was being bullied, and the lady didn't do it the girl did not do it just once, but twice. Like, she basically almost tilt my daughter over while she was walking, and the teacher didn't know this. So Kadiatu, as an educator, do you guys notice when kids are being bullied, or is it like when it's extreme cases that you know?
Most cases you would know, because if you know your students and you pay attention, you will know something is up. But sometimes we just can't put the words in the kid's mouth. We have to have the kid express themselves. So usually you will see a kid come to class and be like, you know, they don't want to listen to you. They don't want to do anything. They just want to lay there. And sometimes you see the facial expression, especially with young kids. When they're mad, you can tell they're mad or something is bothering them. And you can go, like, you know, go close to them. And sometimes you don't want to call out because then you put them on the spot. So it's like, okay, when everybody else is doing their work and maybe you're going to be like, are you okay? Or you trying to talk to them privately, because sometimes kids may be going through stuff. They don't want to be called out. And sometimes you might see bully too. Even the bully person, you don't want to just call up like, stop it, you being a bully. Because both kids probably need help. You don't know why they're bullying. It's not like, and you as an educator, you are there, you're responsible for both kids. So it's not like I'm responsible for just the good kids. No, I am paid to take care of everybody else. So as an educator, you just have to pay close attention. And if you notice something, and you can just like referral. So like, we have a behavior specialist in the building now, and we have a school counselor. Then the principal is something you can, if something you can't handle or child needs to go talk to that person, you can say, you know what, I don't feel like you're doing good today. Do you want to take a walk with this lady out there, with Miss T or Miss D out there, so they can express themselves? But what I notice is you don't talk about it in front of everybody, but you will notice, because you see a kid come from the bus. Like, I don't know, like, if I'm gonna have a good day or not. Even though the kid that bullies somebody, because you will tell the minute they come, like when you greet them to come to the classroom, then you will see their expression. If this was a happy kid they come say bubbly, and now all of the sudden they're like, hi, Missy, something is up, and then you can call them to a corner and be like, how you doing and stuff. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes, you did. And Dominique, can you give us a scenario in your experience? You've been an educator for so long, of like a situation, a bullying situation in your class, and how you handled it, and also tying how music can help. Because like Kadiatu just said, that even the bully is also a victim, right? It could be a victim because like, where did you learn to hate at 5? Like you must have picked it up, right? Like you have to have picked it up somewhere. So thank you. Go ahead, Miss Dominique.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question, because as everyone was speaking, I'm thinking of all the different scenarios I've seen over the past 13 years of students being bullied. I think one of the main times that you notice students are being bullied actually is during a lesson, right? It starts off very small, very, very small. We're talking about bigger things here, but I want to talk about the small things during a normal lesson. During my class, I'll ask a student to come up. I've just taught something, and now I'm kicking it back to the students to see who understood. No student likes to be put on the spot, especially if they weren't paying attention in that moment. And as they come up, they get the answer incorrect, and all you hear is, ah, ha, 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 students laughing. Students are not encouraging. In that moment, as an educator, it is at that moment you are to cut that in, like nip that in the bud immediately. No, there is no space here for that. We are encouraging each other. And if you are friends, in this moment, you help your friend. And it's like a lot of my students are like shocked, like, well, we were just laughing, they got it wrong. No, that's not okay. And I think those small moments help to add to the bigger picture of bullying in general. And that actually just happened to me last week. So that's why I'm bringing that up right now. And it's literally having to change your entire classroom environment to let them know on no way, shape, or form, not at any point are we going to allow any type of negativity at all. And I tell my students, the only person you're allowed to laugh at in this room is me. And I'm okay with that. Together, you guys can laugh at me because I can handle that. But we don't know what each other are going through at home. So to answer your question, for me, it's the smaller things. As an educator, I agree with all of the ladies, what they've said. The moment a student walks in, I already know. I can already tell what type of day that student is having, or if they rather not share with me the type of day that they're having, but I can tell that they're having a day. And, I take them to the side. We talk about it, and, we figure out how we're going to move forward for the day. Definitely never ignore it. Ignoring is probably one of the worst things that we can do as educators. But it is important to create a safe space in your classroom for our students to be able to express themselves. And now for music, the music portion of it, that's actually very difficult because performing is one of the hardest things for, I'm not even going to say students, people in general. Singing, dancing, acting, being in front of an audience is somewhat difficult for many people. So that is why it is very important for me to ensure that my classroom is a safe space for students to be able to express themselves and be themselves without worrying about being under a microscope of the opinion of other people. And I think singing and dancing, enjoying playing instruments, that helps to build the self-confidence that they need in order to succeed in these situations. Because unfortunately, bullying is something that is going to continue throughout from elementary to middle, gets crazier and worse in high school and college, forget about it. So I believe I've seen over the years a student who was inside their shell, didn't talk as much, was very humble and quiet, pick up an instrument or join my chorus. And by the time they've graduated 8th grade, you would not even believe it's the same child, the amount of confidence that they've built. So that is what I believe music does.
Wow. So you're saying, Dominique, that music is a form of like coping post-bullying? Is that what you're saying? Because you said that girl, she grew and she was more confident after a couple of years. Wow, that's awesome. So for the educator, Kadiatu as well, let's say you find out that a kid is being bullied and the kid is really depressed, as Dr. Effiong has said. What are the tools necessary to prevent the kid from, doing something harmful to themselves or to the bullying person? Yeah, the bullier. Just a word like that. Go, Kadiatu.
Well, first of all, you have there's other kids you have to take care of too, but that's why we're also a team. So it's good to know who is in your team, who is responsible for who. So in that case, I would kind of talk to the kid and pay attention to the kid. Mind you, that kid is not with me when they will go to the bathroom. That kid is not with me when they go for music or other recess or lunch. So my first step usually is to, like, even last week I have to call like to call the coach, the behavior coach, because we had a behavior coach in the building, and then a counselor. My principal was out, and if I see somebody is life is in danger or threaten their safety, that's my number one concern. That's where I draw the straw. Like, I don't care what kids do. Like, they can play this, they can play that. But the minute I notice that somebody's life is in danger or somebody doesn't feel safe in my classroom, I take that really personal, and I go to the extent to make sure that that kid is okay. And so we start by talking to the kids first. Okay, you want to talk to the kid because they're the first, what's going on with them. And if they call names and so and so, we have to talk to the other person. And in some cases, you're not in the right place, so you don't have the right time to do it. You call the counselor or somebody, and they will pull these kids and try to talk to them. And sometimes kids will be bullied. I've been bullied when I came here. I was bullied. And sometimes you have to teach kids and be like, you know what? You can refuse bullying. You know what I mean? You can say, I don't care what you're doing. It's not nice. It's not funny. And sometimes kids get it, like, because some of them just want to, be this, you know, get attention. So it's more about talking to your kids and knowing your kids and working as a team. And if that means calling the parents, and talking to the counselor, the nurse, the principal, and everybody have to work together and make sure that individual is okay. And also talk to the bullied and see why is he doing this? Why? What is his purpose? Because sometimes somebody bullied you, because I was bullied when I first came here. And it's silly because it's my name. There was a kid sitting behind me, always calling me Kadi 4, Kadi 3, because my name is Kadi 2 at the end. And I finally, like, I told the teacher about it. And the teacher was like, okay, they send the kid to the main office. The same thing. I'm like, first week, probably second week, this kid will forget about it. No, it was going on and on and on till I finally stood up to that boy and be like, you know what? I'm trying to learn. This is not funny. You better stop. It's not funny. Whatever you're doing, it's not a joke. And from that day on, he never did it. Whenever he sees me, he goes like this. Because, you have to learn how to speak out for yourself and trying to teach. Because if we're going to prevent bullying, it's first we have to recognize it, we have to report it, and we got to refuse it. So those are the steps we have to take and work as a team, whoever there to help the kid, But sometimes you want to try to take care of that in the school first before you involve the parents. And when you do involve the parents, you don't name the other kid. So you keep that as privacy. But things happen.
Wow, that is so cool. You said something about role playing and basically you speaking up and speaking out. I remember after that situation with my daughter, I sat down with her and I basically role played until she was comfortable standing up to the bullying. I mean, it could escalate, it could be more dangerous, but I just told her, like Dr. Effiong said, use a simple word like so. I didn't use those words. Thank you, Dr. Effiong, for sharing that. I just said, you know what, let her know, like, it doesn't matter what she does. So, Dr. Mena, is there a psychological reason why when you don't care, they let you go? Like, I'm kind of confused. So can you tell us the psychological reason, if you can, for bullying, and why when you don't care, people let you go? It's just like counterintuitive. Like, it makes no sense to me. So can you teach us? Thank you.
Bullies want attention. They need attention. And that's why they want to get a rise out of those that they victimize. So if they are able to get a reaction and you're like, stop, don't mess with me, stop. And they're like, I gotcha. So that boosts their self-esteem, because guess what? They have low self-esteem. Somebody has bullied them too. Or someone at home has abused them, or their dad is not there and they've been abandoned by a parent, or their parent is in prison, or they've had trauma, they've had a loss of some kind, they lost a loved one, whatever it is, there's been some kind of trauma that they've experienced. So they need some boost of their esteem so that they can feel better. So going and finding a person that they feel is weaker than them and picking on them makes them feel better. So there's that type of bully. And then there's those who have oppositional defiant disorder, who have disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, DMDD and ODD. Those are disorders who there may not have been some trauma there, but that's they're disordered. And so because of that, they have aggression that comes with that, opposition, defiance, and that just leads them to picking on others without remorse, because again, it feels better. So I say that a lot to my patients, to my kids, to whoever I see who's been bullied. Try to ignore them, try to act like it didn't bother you, because they do end up stopping if they feel like they're not getting a rise out of you. And then also it's a therapeutic technique called clever comebacks. So say if someone says like, oh, you're fat. Oh, only on Tuesdays. I had a bunch of pizza. A clever comeback. Like basically you accepting that as like it like Dr. Effiong said. So, oh, 4 eyes. You wear glasses. Oh yeah, I can see better with 4 eyes. Thank you for picking that up. So saying something where you can cause everybody else to laugh, but at the same time showing that it didn't bother you. So it's about empowering those kids so that they can be able to face it. And of course, not fighting and beating them up, because you don't want them, the victim, to turn into the bully, but at the same time being able to stand up for themselves, because that's very important.
Wow, that is so cool. I didn't know it's a psychiatric way of handling bully, by like the clever comeback. I mean, we as adults, we do that too, right? Like the more clever your comeback is, the less likely people would harass you. So that's really interesting. So Dr. Effiong, thank you for your transparency today. You shared that you see a therapist, and you shared about how someone, a family member, basically verbally bullied you by falsely telling you that you were unattractive. When did you realize that was a problem and it was affecting you? Did you realize that, or did you get help as an adult or as a child? So just share your story if you're comfortable, and if you're not, that's fine. We can move on to another.
So to answer that question, I got help as an adult. I went through so like I said, I became really shy, or I was extremely shy and couldn't even hold conversations. But it slowly got better. By the time I was in college, I was still pretty shy, but started to get better. I started trying to force myself to do things outside of my comfort zone, like go be a presidential scholar. So I had to go greet guests at graduations, like, because that was something I would never do. So, but as an older adult is when I started getting help for that specifically. But yeah, so it's been a journey. I still catch myself trying to hide or be shy, but I realize that those words are not true, and so it's a matter of becoming self-aware of who you are and getting to the point where what people say don't define who you are. And so it's a process. But if we teach our kids when they're young, how if they hear something and we tell them who they are until they start to realize who they really are, then it definitely helps. Because if my mom had told me, oh no, you're beautiful and stuff, it doesn't mean she didn't tell me that. I mean, she didn't tell me that specifically. So that's why I've been talking about it as parents, like point out the good in your children, build them up, boost them up. So that way, as they get older, it doesn't matter what people say to them, it just falls off of them. Yeah.
Wow. Again, thank you, Dr. Effiong, for sharing that you're a successful physician, board-certified pediatrician with a lot of accolades. Thank you. Congratulations on being releasing your TEDx talk. That's a big deal. You guys, let's celebrate her if you guys can. Awesome. So you've done a lot of phenomenal things, but you still had that self-esteem issues that came from childhood. So Domonique and Kadiatu, as educator, does this change your perspective? Like, I feel like sometimes we do not give educators the prompts that they deserve, right? Because you guys can alter the trajectory of kids. Look at Dr. Effiong. Like, if a teacher had identified that she was being bullied, they could have provided her with early intervention. And thank God she was strong enough to overcome it by being a successful physician. But I'm sure they are not everyone that have the willpower of Dr. Effiong. It's not everyone that made it. So how does this conversation influence you moving forward, if it does?
Go ahead.
Okay, sure. I'll go first. Well, to be honest with you, I do believe that in this generation, it's actually even more difficult for our students because of social media. There are many more ways now to bully, unfortunately. So early intervention is more important now than ever. Once again, just had a situation on Friday with a student. I'm sorry, on Thursday with a student. And I had to ask him, what is going on? Like, it was just one-on-one. I know someone mentioned earlier, one-on-one is probably the best. And it is always the best because our students are always trying to put on a show for each other, find an audience. But when you get them alone, that's when you get the full insight on that child. And the one student, I'm like, what's going on? What is the issue? Why are you always bothering this person? Or what is going on with you? And he literally broke down and he was like, my dad, I miss my father. He's not around anymore. I speak to him once a month and, I'm angry. I'm sorry, it's my alarm. I have anger issues. And I said, well, what are you going to do about that? You're aware of the problem. So what is it that I can help you do in this situation? And he said, well, I watched a webinar, actually. It's a program we did at the school. And he said the lady told him to breathe in and out. I said, okay. And when that doesn't work, now what? He said, I don't know. I said, well, honey, seek help, therapy, speak to someone, not necessarily someone speak to a professional. And he said, this was key for me. He said, my mom will never allow that. And I'm like, I understand it. There are a lot of cultures that frown upon therapy. And unfortunately, students at a younger age are not yet allowed to give consent to just speak to someone. We have to send home permission slips for students to speak to counselors. The parent has to know. So I actually reached out to the school counselor because we have therapy services available. And I asked, what can we do with a student who is hearing me and hearing why he believes he should go to therapy? I explained my story to him and how it helped me. And he says, but what am I going to do? My mom won't go for that. And that is the question that I'm stuck on because, we're going to figure it out on Monday. This is really a true pending situation. But what do we do? I'm throwing that question back out. We have parents that believe therapy is, you're crazy, or don't put anyone else knowing our business. Don't let anyone know what's going on in our home. So now what do we do? Because that's a bulk of that 12 to 18 age range where they can't give consent.
Wow, Dominique, that's a very good point that you've raised. Consent prior to getting mental wellness. Again, I think we need to change the way we talk about mental health. I love the fact that we've changed the word terminology to mental wellness so that we can remove the stigma associated with getting care from people like Dr. Mena. Kadiatu, you were going to share. Please, your turn.
Yeah, hi. I think first of all, you should just never be quick to judge. Stay calm at any situation. And one thing I've learned that and put my own values and my own perspective to the side. Because at the end of the day, I was raised in a different home. I was raised in a different culture. So you're dealing with different people. But I think little words means a lot. Because I remember that time I was doing my student teaching at an elementary school, and there was this one boy that was having behavior issues, and a lot of people call him he's bullied because he couldn't control his anger. And and when people know that you cannot control your anger, and usually people can be all sneaky, especially with females, with the girls. We bullied you, we don't like say on your face, but we know how to say it in a different way of, it might not be physical or more verbal like most boys would do. So he would get in trouble because he couldn't control his anger. And I was at the library at that time. So they would send him to me every time for lunch, and I would just sit there and have lunch with this kid. And I'm like, what's going on? He'd be like, well, everybody think I'm a troublemaker, and this and that. And I told him, I'm like, you know what? I don't think you're a troublemaker because you come here, you help me out. He does have some type of learning disability too. And he'd be like, they think I'm stupid. And I'm like, you know what? I think you're pretty smart because you can help me, with this books and put this books in orders. But he was doing that every time I have lunch with them. So I finished my student teaching, I moved forward. And I finally came back to their school to visit. And they said he wrote a letter. He actually graduated. He was in 6th grade. He wrote a letter that I inspired him so much. And that makes a difference because he was just like, he was being pulled. The teachers were angry. Everybody else is angry because he's always like, you know what I mean? He was ready to fight. I always told him, I say, you know what? When you do that, you're giving them the power, because they know that you get angry easily. So they're using that against you. I said, so when people say that you stay calm and stay focused, and he was able to graduate because he was like almost to this point to being kicked out of the school because he was fighting almost every week. But like so the words you say to our kids, like even like kiss your brain, like they give you an answer in class. I'm like, oh my God, that's a good answer. Let's kiss our brain. Let's appreciate our brains, while somebody say, or somebody call me fat, I'm like, oh no, you are not fat. You know what I mean? They're just getting this wrong. You know what I mean? Or somebody call me stupid. No, you're not stupid. You're good at this one because you might not be good at math, but you're good at English. So I'm like, oh, you're good at English, and just give them an example like, okay, I'm not a good speller too, or I'm this, I'm that, I'm, like stories, like I have to learn, I came here, I went from a 6th grade to a 10th grade level. So of course I did struggle a little bit with academics. So you have to give them example of your own life that you yourself, you're not perfect. You have your own flaws, and people that said a whole lot about you. People say you can't be a teacher, you have an accent. Oh, okay. I'm a teacher now. So you have to just tell them a story that they can relate to, and hopefully just, even a word can make a difference. So to me, that's the most important thing. Or just not just empowering that kid, but empowering your classroom too. Empowering other kids that if they see somebody that needs help or that needs a friend, be a friend to them. Because my first time I took a class of bullying, I was doing my bachelor's, and we had a scenario. This boy cleaned his locker. He was gonna go home and kill himself that day. That was the plan. On his way home, another boy came by and walked home with him and be like, oh my gosh, saw a picture of the pictures he had painted on the door. He'd be like, "Is that your work?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh my God, this is pretty cool." You know what I mean? And that kind of gave him that confidence, and he didn't kill himself. One person can change, maybe just one word, you know what I mean? So sometimes it doesn't have to be too much, just give that person a compliment, like, "You look good today." You can see the smiles in their face, when they come in, like, I'm like, "Oh, I like your shoes." And you're like, you can see that in their face, "I like the way you do your hair today. I like your dress." And it's not like to bother them up, but you give them that self-esteem, because or maybe they never heard a comment, or maybe their homes they're coming from, they're telling them they're ugly, they're this and that and that. And all of the sudden you are like recognizing the good things they're doing, like what the doctor was saying. You have to just like, celebrate their strengths, not always pointing out their weaknesses. And I think when people realize that, it can it can make a difference, because I have teachers that made a difference. That's why I'm here today. So, and just because it's here word to me, because when I came, going from 6th to a 10th grade level, it was like, "Oh my God, this is a big gap." I went there, everybody was done. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm done." And the teacher look at my work and be like, "You have all the answers right. You're just a little slow, but you are pretty much smarter than most of those people who are running out of here." Like, you know what I mean? But that gave me a confidence that I might be slow, my reading level might not be fast, but I can comprehend whatever I read. So with that makes me like, you know what, I can do this high school. And I went and graduated and went further and getting my education. So
Wow. Well, Kadiatu, thank you again for sharing. That's why I love you, and I love all of our panelists today. You guys are very transparent about your own struggles and how you overcame it and how you're using your stories to help other people. So thank you so much. Again, I'm just going to put a plug. I know Kadiatu teaches in a majority white institution, but her presence had saved many minority students from being kicked out. So that's why we talk about diversity. If you guys will let me be tangential, that's why we talk about diversity. Kadiatu's presence in her school prevented a child from becoming a failure, because she was able to share her story. And then those people that don't understand diversity, this is why we have that, because Kadiatu could relate to that kid. They have a similar narrative. So Dr. Mena, what I have to say is, would you say what Kadiatu was doing with the kid when she would talk to the kid every day, is that a form of talk therapy? And should you have a special license to be able to practice it? So tell me a little bit about talk therapy and how it could be used to help people cope with bullying. Yeah.
I mean, there's being able to talk to a teacher, and there's talking to a counselor in therapy. I think that anyone the student is able to talk to and feels comfortable talking to, and it's helpful, that's okay. If they don't need to get to the level where they actually have therapy and they're having a particular modality of therapy, for instance, cognitive behavioral therapy or motivational therapy, or the different kinds that they have, maybe they don't need to get to that level. And if it's helpful for them to just simply talk to the teacher, that's okay. That's really okay. And I wanted to comment real quick. Domonique had a very important question about getting the consent of the parent. That's definitely very hard, but it starts with having a conversation with the mom. So if you as the teacher or the counselor or even the principal, whoever, can at least talk to the mom and have that conversation, educate the parent on, why therapy is important, maybe have them understand like the effects that their child is having because they're being bullied, and explain that to them. We have, like I mentioned, a therapy called motivational interviewing, and really you're trying to have find that common motivation that the person has. So obviously the parent wants their child to be happy, so you use that as, you want to do anything possible to make your child happy. So if therapy, which can be simply talking, or it can be a certain type of therapy, then that's what it is. It doesn't mean they have to be in therapy for the rest of their lives. It just means that at this point, this is the thing that we're doing to get them through this phase in their life. So I wanted to touch on that too, because that's important.
Wow. Thank you so much for touching on that. I was going to bring that up, but thank you for doing that. Dr. Effiong, I think Domonique talked about the effect of social media and bullying. What are you seeing as a pediatrician, and how can we address that? And Dr. Mena, you can chime in as well, since you're a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Actually, can I first talk about Dominique's question? Okay, so I was gonna say if you don't get anywhere, well, hopefully you do with the mom, but if not, you should reach out to whoever their pediatrician is, because we're also supposed to be able to, I mean, that's part of what we do as well, is talk to parents. And I often tell the parents, hey, see, I'm in therapy. Does that mean do I look like I'm crazy? It doesn't mean we're calling you crazy. And often that's the way I can get kids in therapy, by just being upfront with the parents like that. And it's helped. So if you can't get through to mom, talk to their pediatrician as well. Um, and then in terms of social media, yes, we are seeing loads and loads of that. So when kids being bullied online, and so what I talk to the parents about when I see them is, hey, I remind them that there's parental controls that they can get on their kids' devices, and that really, honestly, that they need to decrease the amount of time their kids spend on their devices, and for sure control it and know whatever the kid is looking at, whoever they're talking to, the parent needs to be on top of it. I'll give an example. My kid wanted to do Snapchat. She was 12 at the time, and I was like, Snapchat. She's like, oh, all her friends are on Snapchat. I'm like, it has to be on my phone. My 12-year-old doesn't have a phone, because the way I see it is I drop her at school and I pick her up. So where exactly does she need the phone, right? Call me funny, but that's but anyways, I put it on there. Then that's when I realized people were on her account that she didn't invite. I'm like, well, Snapchat has to go, because we can't have people who you have no idea coming in and talking to you, like, just like that. Like, it's wide open on Snapchat. So that's an example. So when I talk to the parents, I say, hey, there are ways for you to monitor what your child is doing and limit the amount of time. Instead, spend more time with your child, or get them to do things they're interested in. I mean, not even 10 years ago, we didn't have phones and everybody was fine, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're all like this and not doing anything else. And you see lots of kids are not doing well in school and not reading and all of that. So I talk to them about decreasing the amount of time and, of course, monitoring it. And just to make sure that their children are safe, because lots of kids have been getting killed through online interactions with adults that don't mean good for them. So
All right, you all. Thank you again for being here today. Before we end our conversation, don't hang up yet, our viewers from home. I want each of our panelists to give us a takeaway point from this conversation for parents that have kids that have been bullied, or your child is a bully. Like, I just want you guys to give us some tips. Like, there are 4 of you, so we should have at least 4 to 6 tips that parents can take away from this conversation. Again, thank you, parents, for viewing live with us. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Dr. Mena.
Okay. Well, I guess I have a good tip. I've been wanting to say it for a while. So we've been talking about building up our children and empowering them, helping them with their confidence and things like that, and telling them good job and telling them, what they did a good job at and being specific. Another thing you can add, because we always say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Daddy's proud of you. Mommy's proud of you. We say that a lot, and we should, right? But if we leave it just at that keeps them thinking, okay, is mom proud of me? Is dad proud of me? Is my teacher proud of me? Change it. Well, say that too, but also ask them, are you proud of yourself? And then they say, oh, yes, I'm proud of myself. So make that key so that they are not just looking for someone else to be proud of them, but that they're looking for the fact that what's most important is that they're proud of themselves. So that's my takeaway.
Sorry, y'all, technical issues. Someone else can pick up on it. Dr. Effiong. So let's go Dr. Effiong, then Ms. Walker, and then Kadiatu. Thank you.
Okay. So my tip is talk with your children. Spend the time asking them, like, go beyond how was school today. Just just talk with them, and more importantly, listen. When they do talk, listen to them without interjecting and or trying to fix things. And that way, when you just keep an open slate, kids are more likely to tell you things than if you're directing the conversation. So
so for me, I'm gonna bring it back to music. I'm gonna just say, parents, encourage your students. Your children to find something they love and something that they're good at, and use that as a self-confidence booster for themselves, so that mentally they can be stronger within themselves. And in this quick moment, I'm just gonna plug in. I was doing a musical a year or so ago, just before COVID hit. And it was Aladdin. And this one student, he was always bullied throughout his years. And he actually became my Aladdin. Great singer. He was so shy. Everyone thought he was the genie because of his stature. But he was definitely Aladdin because he was so soft-spoken. And students who used to bully him after he performed literally came up to him and said, "You were really amazing. Awesome job." And you could just see the self-confidence light up. And from what I know, he's doing much better actually in school. So I'm plugging music, but sports, whatever it is that your child seems to be interested in, encourage them to seek, the training and whatever it is to get better at that. And it will also help their self-confidence.
Thank you. Kadiatu, your turn, please. Oh, I think we lost Kadiatu for technical reasons. Kadiatu? Oh, I think we lost her. All right, guys, we just want to say thank you for this lovely presentation. Those listening at home, if you want their information, just shoot us an email and we'll be able to give you access to our great panelists. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, Domonique, for reminding us that even bullies themselves are victims. Thank you so much, Dr. Effiong, for being transparent about therapy and the effect of bullying in your life, how it changed your personality from a bubbling person to a very shy person. But your strong will and determination made you who you are now, and you're using your voice to help others. Thank you so much. Dr. Mena, you too. Thank you very much for that. Kadiatu, do you have any takeaway points for parents? We lost you for a second.
Sure, yeah. I don't know. I couldn't hear. Then all of a sudden I was kicked out. Just don't be too hard on your child. When they tell you something like they bullied you, they've been bullied, or they notice something, always say like, "Thanks for telling me." Even as an educator, that's my first sentence. Like usually when a kid tell me something so personal, and I'm like, "Thank you for telling me." And sometimes it's overwhelming, and then I'm like, and then sometimes I don't know what to do, but I, take a deep breath and find somebody to get help from. Because I don't have the answers to everything, and as a parent, you don't have the answers to everything. And the other thing is, don't talk down on your child. They'll be like, if he's being bullied, they'll be like, "Oh, you too weak, you too stupid. Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that?" You know what I mean? Just listen and say, "Thanks for telling me," and we'll find a way. And when you contact the school, don't be too angry. Don't let your anger, don't call the teacher and start cussing out the teacher, because we have thousands of issues we're dealing with too, and it's not our fault. You know what I mean? But just stay calm and be respectful, and your point will be taken, and they will take you seriously, because bullying, it's a hot topic right now. Even last week we have a bullying a PowerPoint presentation, so schools are taking it seriously. So, and there's a way you can communicate with your teachers now. There's like Class Dojo, show up on, build communication with your teachers, because at the end of the day, we're there. Don't go there and be yelling. There's a whole lot of stuff. Sometimes, just be open-minded and be respectful. And that's my takeaway.
Thank you for that, Jesse. Thank you. Be respectful. And I appreciate all of you. You guys were amazing. Now we are going to go quickly to our announcements before we end the conversation. Guys, can you all mute yourself, please? I don't know if it's from me. Okay, this is better. All right, so the announcement. Are you interested in speaking on our webinar? Please email us at healthyanduplifted@gmail.com. We are always looking for subject matter experts. I don't care if you've published, not published, but if you're trained to be a teacher, let us know. If you're trained to be a psychiatrist, let us know. We like people within the community to bring this information, so thank you. Next, we're celebrating our viewers. Recently, we had an uprise in the amount of viewership. Our YouTube channel, Healthy and Uplifted, we had 9,000 views in the last 28 days. So we're thankful to everybody. And even our data showed that more men listen to our show than women. So it's great. You know, our niche is women, busy mom, busy people that need this information. So thank you, men, for chiming in and listening to us. We appreciate you. We're taking a break in December to rest and celebrate, those of us that celebrate Christmas. So we're not going to be here in December, but we're coming back in January. We're going to be talking about bullying in the workplace. Like someone alluded, I think Domonique or Dr. Effiong, that bullying is not just among students, but we see that in our workplace. So we're going to talk about disruptive behavior. Stay tuned. January 16, 2022. It's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern time. We moved the time from 4 to 2 because now we have a network of people in West Africa and actually Africa that tune in, and we want to give them enough time. So we're moving our show up to 2 p.m. It's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is 8 p.m. at least in Nigerian time. Next. All right, I told you guys that I wrote a book, Jonathan and the Hole in His Shoes. I wrote this for my daughter. It's about standing up when someone is being bullied. Ironically, she was the victim in bullying. So if you guys want to purchase the book, great. You can find it on Amazon. The link will be posted also in the Facebook chat. All right, like they said, I'm the president of Love Your Menses, the co-founder. Save the date, November 30th to December 2nd. Kendra Scott has teamed up with us and will be selling items in their stores. The items, anything you purchase will be donated to us so that we can continue our community work. Again, pay attention and help us. Again, we need money to do good work. I didn't realize how important money was until I started doing community work. So thank you for your support. Next, Love Your Menses, we have an app. It's called Our Flow. This app was designed by our kids in Boston. These young girls developed this app. This app is very informative. I remember my partner Vera was saying that the people in Nigeria, when they downloaded this app, they were very grateful. They're like, this evidence-based information is for free. We said, yes, it is for free. So download, share it for those that need it. Again, it's about menstrual wellness. Again, the more informed a child is about their physiological changes, the better they are in terms of confidence building and standing up to bullies. Next, I wrote a book with some other women, the Warrior Women Project. It just talks about our experiences as immigrants to America, to Australia, wherever it is. We shared our experience and how we made it to motivate others. Again, in sharing your story, you become a testimony for others. So yeah, you can find this book on Amazon or email me. All right. Again, I have my own company, Azumah Solutions. We're big on branding organizations, people and also businesses. So if you decide that you want to be branded or you want us to help you grow, please contact me. I'm there for you. Again, anything that will help you, I will do. Some words to reflect on. Dr. Effiong alluded to this. Constantly comparing your children with friends, cousins, neighbors, and with each other can be traumatic. endless criticism and judgment of your child can also be traumatic. Like Dr. Effiong said, she's made it a duty to focus more on the things her daughter does right than wrong. And I think it's important for all of us to do that. You know, it's so easy. I don't understand. Maybe Dr. Mena would help explain that eventually, not today, why we always focus on the negative instead of us to focus on the positive. I don't know if it's a coping mechanism that we had in the past to protect ourselves, hunter-gatherers, but I don't know. But yes, let's end criticism and judgment of our children. I'm not suggesting not correcting them. You know, as a Christian believer, it's important that we correct people, but let's first love before we have endless criticism. All right. Happy Thanksgiving from Azumah Solutions to you guys. I hope you enjoy this coming week with your family. There's so much to be thankful for, those of us that are still alive. We survived COVID. That's one reason to be so thankful. So yes, enjoy your celebration with your family. Tune into our YouTube channel while you eat and just have conversations, because I think our topic is very important for families. Thanks to all our participants, speakers, and planning team. Please email us with feedbacks or suggestion. Again, healthyanduplifted@gmail.com or info@healthyanduplifted. Again, this program has been sponsored by Love Your Menses, which I'm the president and co-founder, and Healthy and Uplifted and Azumah Solutions. Again, we bring this for free because as a public health professional, I do believe that there's a role in our voices being heard. I cannot do this on my own. Thank you for my great team, Brianna, Israel, Noble, Alpha, Latasha, all of you guys for tuning in and doing this. You know, I am so, so grateful. A lot of productions like this cost thousands of money, but you guys give me sweat sacrifice. So I'm just so grateful. Thank you for doing this for your community. Last but not least, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Right now, I think we have 686 people as members of our YouTube channel. We want to reach 1,000, because if we reach 1,000, then we could negotiate and maybe get our events paid for. However, if you like us, please just click the like button and subscribe to our channels. Again, next year is going to be fun. After we talk about school bullying, we're going to talk about dating, and then we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. We've planned out next year for all of you. Again, speakers, thank you. These speakers do this for free. They're just amazing people. Thank you all for being my friends. Dr. Mena, thank you. I'm so proud of you. I still remember us at University of Michigan, like working hard, and look at God, we're here today as physicians. I'm very grateful. Dr. Effiong, thank you so much. I know you're doing great. I know you're going to heal from whatever trauma is in your way. Miss Walker, please come back. I don't know when next you're going to be doing your vocals. Send us the link so that we can post it on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook channel as well. Kadiatu, thank you. Thank you for being my friend, being my sister, and thank you for overcoming just things. I mean, one day we're going to talk about your refugee experience, because a lot of times people don't know the effect of wars, but you've overcame and you've motivated others. I am so proud to be called your friends. You all, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.